Before we begin, I just want to give a quick thank you shout out to my Mutt tier Patreons, including newcomer Wilma, thank you so much for joining the crew, Glad Goku, Dare Denny, Kale Bennett, That Jordo, Ken K of Warheads, Super Hyper Mecha SP Mark II, Cyrus the Skeptic, and I've bought the entire helium supply. Have fun blowing up balloons now. Thank you folks, it means a lot. Hi, what's up? I'm Channel Pup, the mascot for the level-headed fanboy. And we've got our very first look at the Knuckles TV series coming to Paramount Plus in April. So naturally, it behooves me to discuss what we are seeing from this series and the trailer and why it's all really important. So that's what today's video is. Before we get stuck in, if you're new here, first of all, thanks. I'm aware that there's a huge smorgasbord of Sonic videos on here, so it means a lot that you chose mine, and if you love Sonic as much as I do, you're gonna want to hit that subscribe button for more Sonic stuff on a regular basis. You won't be disappointed. And as always, this video is made possible thanks to the support of my patrons. For more info on how you can become a patron, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. It does come with rewards, and I would be hugely grateful for it. And for one-off support, the link to my Ko-Fi is also down in the description below. Alright, shilling over. So, this year, 2024, marks the 30th anniversary of the beloved 16-bit classic Sonic 3 and Knuckles, and coincidentally, Paramount Pictures are releasing Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Someone in some boardroom somewhere is chuckling to themselves right now. This time, of course, though, there's no lock-on technology. Sonic 3 will release in cinemas in December, and I already talked a little about that in my recent Shadow sequel video. Today, we are focusing strictly on the Knuckles TV series, dropping on Paramount Plus this April, just a few days after my birthday, so that's neat. We'll also be discussing what this could mean for the future of the Sonic movie franchise, and just Sonic at large. So I really want to express why this is a big deal. So when it was announced that Idris Elba would be reprising his role as Knuckles for a TV series, I was really excited. For the sake of a little background information, I adore the first two Sonic movies, especially the second one. While these movies don't quite reach the heights of the best Sonic games, they deliver plenty of what I do love about Sonic. The high-speed action, the memorable cast, it's all here. But where I feel these films really excel the most is in the adaptations of these characters. They're a little richer, more multi-nuanced than the versions that we see in the games, and there's a little more emphasis on cohesive world building. Knuckles is no exception to this. The second Sonic movie rolled around at a time when Knuckles was just kind of viewed as Sonic's meathead friend. And that is, of course, on the rare occasion that he'd show up. You only have to look at games like Sonic Generations and Sonic Lost World to see that this hyper-competitive yet laughably passive character wasn't being given his dues. Then in Sonic Forces, he ended up sending thousands and thousands of soldiers to their deaths in an attempt at a mass kamikaze mission on Eggman's Metropolis. This once stoic, noble, thoughtful, yet gullible and flawed warrior, the last Echidna, was reduced to a joke. And this was only compounded by the Sonic Boom offshoot, where Knuckles was portrayed as a total himbo, an incredibly dim but incredibly lovable big brother to Sonic and his friends. Now, I do want to make something clear, on its own merits, I adore the Boom versions of these characters, and Knuckles is no exception. Ultimately, it matters how well a version of the character is done, rather than adherence to my own preferences. But even so, as much as I love Boom Knuckles, this chuckling fool was doing nothing to help repair the damage done to Knuckles' image. I think this is all part of what makes this version of Knuckles so damn important. From the studio that bought you ugly Sonic running around to Gangsta's Paradise, we've got Knuckles portrayed as a noble, stoic, flawed, and gullible warrior. He's not stupid, he's just a bit ignorant. Now, part of the reason why it was so important for that first film to go back and fix Sonic's design was because movies are arguably going to be the most present version of the Sonic brand. There will be millions of kids going to see these movies who have never consumed any Sonic media before. These movies are not only creating a brand new public perception of Sonic, these will also send messages to Sega. I mean, just look at how Knuckles has been portrayed in the games since his appearance in Sonic 2. At the same time, a lot of that can also be attributed to writer Ian Flynn, who worked on various Sonic comics before making the jump to the games, and it's safe to say his MO has always been to treat the characters with dignity. I don't doubt, though, that these films may have played a role in Sega focusing up a bit more on story and bringing Ian Flynn to pull it all off, after over a decade of mandating that these characters fit a certain archetype. Fact is, these films sent Sega the message that these characters will sell really, really well when treated with sincerity, and Knuckles is arguably the best example of that. Look at the transformation he's made. This once hyper-competitive, klutzy echidna is now back to his old self, except now he's hella fruity. But another major component in what makes Knuckles as a series so exciting is that this is the first time outside of comics that Sega have brought us a spin-off focusing on a character that isn't Sonic since Shadow the Hedgehog all the way back in 2005. Sonic's cast have always been ripe with spin-off potential. It's why Tails, Knuckles, and Dr. Robotnik all got their very own spin-off games back in the 1990s. But even then, they never quite tapped into the potential of these characters. And because the last spin-off we saw in mainstream media was 19 years ago, it came as quite a surprise to me that Paramount would be going this far with Sonic, considering not even Sega have displayed this level of confidence in the IP. And while this may just be a coincidence, we are getting the first Sonic spin-off game in years with Shadow Generations this fall. If the films are influencing the games, then it's incredibly exciting to see just how much faith Paramount are putting into the Sonic IP, especially after the first film really played things safe. Now, there is one area where I have tempered my expectations a bit. When this show was first announced, I saw this as an opportunity to start really filling out Paramount's Sonic universe. While the Sonic movies tend to focus on just a small handful of characters, having a spin-off TV show gives us opportunities to have other Mobians show up. I figured this could be an opportunity to bring in the Chaotix, or Metal Sonic, or Rouge the Bat. And I think a lot of folks shared that excitement with me, as I do recall that on social media, there was a collective snap back to reality when the synopsis of the Knuckles series revealed that the show would focus on Knuckles training Wade in the way of the warrior. You remember Wade, the toilet-brained cop? Totally incompetent, but likable nevertheless. Basically Boom Knuckles in human form. Oh my god, imagine that. A show where movie Knuckles mentors Boom Knuckles. That would be surreal. Knuckles Generations, anyone? Sonic X Knuckles Boom Rise of Lyric? Hey, I'd buy it. So we recently got our very first look at the trailer for the Knuckles TV series. Way ahead of the Super Bowl when it was originally predicted to drop. And here's what I'm going to start off with. It is basically shaping up to be everything that I think the fans didn't want it to be. But it does look really, really good though. We're seeing virtually zero game lore being brought into this trailer, no further expansion of the Paramount Sonic universe, save for one bizarre inclusion that I'll mention in just a bit. And while I can understand from a fan perspective why that may come as a missed opportunity, at the same time I'd rather have a good self-contained show than a cameo fest a la Disney Star Wars. You could argue, well, why not build the show around these new inclusions? But at the same time, I'm not at all opposed to this show just being kind of a slice of life and a chance to get to know Knuckles a little better. Yeah, this is a buddy cop road adventure through and through if this trailer is anything to go by. In fact, we're 2 for 2 on Sonic characters sitting in cars with humans. One thing that immediately surprised me is that Sonic and Tails are in this. Now okay, I know that to some that may have been obvious, but I don't know, maybe there'd be a time skip or something. Maybe this would be a strictly Knuckles thing. I predict they'll be in the first and maybe last episode, but I was genuinely really pleased to see them here, with Ben Schwartz and Colleen O'Shaughnessy reprising their roles. and they look great. That's another thing that jumped out to me immediately. The colors of these characters look much richer here. I wasn't fond of the kind of greeny blue that Sonic was in the first film, nor was I a fan of how muted he looked in 2. Here he looks a lot closer to how he did in the Drone Home short film. I don't know if this is a budgetary thing. Maybe having these more vibrant character shades is to do with the dynamic range the show is being shot with, or maybe it's done to cover up a cheaper rendering process, but whatever the case, I hope the characters look more like this in the third film. It's just more visually pleasing, and no, I don't care that Sonic's forehead has dog wrinkles now, depending on his facial expressions. They just add character, I'm fine with it. So the story appears to be that after making a vow to stay on Earth with Sonic and Tails, Knuckles is struggling to adjust to family life, transforming the Wachowski household into a gladiator pit and having Ozzy face off against the Mailman, much to the bemusement of returning Tika Sumpter as Maddie Wachowski. Also, Ozzy has changed from a golden retriever to a Labrador, so that's funny. One thing I did notice is that James Marsden is nowhere to be seen in this trailer, and it makes me wonder if maybe they just couldn't get him. And while we're talking about home life, while Knuckles is keeping himself occupied with some VR headset, probably getting a lap dance from Rouge the Bat in VR chat, Sonic is talking to a mobile phone with a ring light. Ha! Get it? Ring light? Shut the Okay, he's an influencer. Hedgehog Zero, aka Prickly Critic, will be like, Echidna Tribe drama is crazy. Except we see that Sonic is streaming or something with a stack of comics behind him. See? This is why representation matters. I feel tickled pink at this. He's just like me, for real. Anyways, Knuckles realizes the domesticated life isn't for him, and oh my god, they domesticated Sonic. That in itself is crazy. Crazy! So Knuckles presumably goes to live with Wade for a bit, and the two go on a little road trip to Reno, where, okay, filling in a few gaps here, I'm guessing they're going to compete in a bowling tournament, and okay, very funny, the guy wearing the Union Jacks has a cup of tea in his bowling ball. Yes, very droll in it, dental care and all that. Get your laughing out of the way. Now, while this isn't a big fan service orgy like I think some hoped, for me personally, there is still plenty here that tickles the prickly pickle. From the adorable little gold plate reference to Knuckles' hat returning from the OVA movie, we've got Knuckles' flaming fists from the adventure games, him gliding with Wade on his back, which is the first time we've seen movie Knuckles glide. And I mean, one thing that I'm excited about, that I'm honestly surprised these movies haven't done yet, is that a chunk of this story is taking place in Reno, a casino district. Finally, casinos in a live-action Sonic project. Took them long enough. Shame we're not going to see Sonic in it, but I mean, I don't know, I haven't seen the show, maybe we will. But okay, I guess I can finally discuss the elephant in the room. A character from the games appearing that we haven't seen yet in the films, and no, it isn't Amy Rose, it isn't Rouge, and it isn't Metal Sonic. It's Chief Pacamac, working a bowling alley voiced by Christopher Lloyd. What in Sam Hill? Now, given that bowling appears to be quite a major component of the story, and just the overall design of these shots of Pacamac, my guess is that this is a vision parodying Sam Elliott's Stranger character in The Big Lebowski. The Stranger was kinda an ambiguous character in that he narrates the film and serves as kind of a conscience for the dude, yet we don't really know if he even exists. Now, considering they've given Pacamac a very Sam Elliott-looking mustache, I think it's safe to assume that he's going to play a similar role here. Now, let me let you in on something. The Big Lebowski is one of my favorite films of all time. So if we're combining Sonic with The Big Lebowski, I'm going to start to suspect that I'm being spied upon because this is all very, very convenient. The one weak link in this trailer for me was the villains. Now, obviously, this is just a trailer, we don't see much of them, but I was kinda anticipating a villain from the games. Maybe Fang the Hunter or something in that ballpark. Instead, we have a brand new villain, the Buyer, and his two agents he has working for him. The Buyer himself seems kinda cool, I guess. He's previously worked for Dr. Robotnik and has salvaged a load of his tech and seems to be selling it on the black market, while seeking out Knuckles to power his own personal project. Kinda reminds me of the Vulture in Spider-Man Homecoming. The Buyer isn't really the issue here, it's these two agents that I'm not so sure about. Purely because of that little "do I look like I need your power" reprisal gag that gets dragged out. That said, editing can go a long way. I remember when I first saw Robotnik and Sergeant Bennington's confrontation in the Sonic 1 trailer and thought it looked lame as hell, when in the film it was actually a decent intimidation scene for Dr. Robotnik. So I will reserve judgment. But for now, I'm not sold on the villains just yet. Now, we're going to be going a little more into rumory territory, so allegedly, the buyer's team are referred to as the Black Arms, because they're basically black market arms dealers. There's also an episode titled The Flames of Disaster, and I get the sense that that's referring to Knuckles' fiery fists. Now, this wouldn't be the first time the Sonic movie universe has used names of existing concepts as more just a fun little nod rather than a total adaptation. Green Hills, Nevada isn't Green Hill Zone. There's the Mean Bean being the coffee shop, the Splash Hill water truck, etc., it goes on. The movie universe is its own separate universe, and it stands to reason that they're not going to adapt everything. But this is just a cute way of acknowledging these things. It's something I'm okay with, however it does frighten me a little then that we haven't seen any Deadly Six references. Don't tell me they're actually going to adapt them. Also, if Knuckles can ride a motorcycle, so can Shadow. Sorry, those are the rules. Gotta say, it was also super relieving to see that this is just a 6-episode event. Thank Christ. Look, I don't usually celebrate less content, but after Sonic Prime, I've seen how a Sonic project can be dragged out and spread wafer thin. I'm glad Knuckles won't befall the same fate unless it is just dreadfully paced, but I doubt it. I mean, surely not, right? Honestly, it's still kind of sinking in that we're getting a seemingly fairly high-budget TV series dedicated to Knuckles the Echidna, with an all-star cast. That's crazy. And while the show itself looks by no means groundbreaking, it does look like a really entertaining project. And I am just really happy to see Knuckles getting the love he deserves, especially considering he turns 30 this year. I really hope the show's good and it does well, that way maybe Sega will consider pulling the trigger on more spin-off projects on their end of things. I'm ecstatic that Shadow's getting his own little game to accompany the Sonic Generations remaster, and if they want to do more like that and do it well, I'm all too pleased. After all, the ending of Sonic Frontiers did set up all these characters going on their individual journeys. And I mean, hey, if it's a rule of thumb that one character from the most current Sonic movie will get their own spin-off series, do you reckon maybe there's a chance we'll see something done for Shadow as well? Now that would be a cool opportunity to see the real Black Arms, but I guess I'll pitch that in a video at a later date. If you want to see me talk a bit more about the Knuckles series as well as other stuff, last Friday over on Sunset City, myself, Garrulus64, and BikuriBox12 sat down to discuss the Knuckles TV series as well as what stages we would like to see in Sonic X Shadow Generations. So be sure to check that out. I'll leave a link to that episode in the pinned comment for you to find nice and easily. It is a very entertaining and very silly episode. With all that being said, what do you guys think? How are you feeling about the Knuckles series so far? Comment below, discuss. And as always, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more like it, be sure to hit subscribe, hit the like button, and in the description below is the link to my Patreon page, where for as little as $1 a month, you can get your name in the credits of these videos. A special shout out goes to the patrons in the $5 or above tier. Their names are Wilma, Kalex, Richard Rogers, Glad Goku, Dare Denny. Also, Dare Denny, thank you so much for your generous pledge. It is thanks to you that I will be reviewing the Madam Web movie shortly after it releases, and I'll be seeing it in cinemas. I don't know if I should thank you or not for that, but I also know that you've bribed me into it, so yeah, actually, thank you. SSSO6, Kale Bennett, That Jordo, Ken K of Warheads, Dazzle Fizzle, Super Hyper Mecha SP Mark II, Cirrus the Skeptic. I bought the entire helium supply. Have fun blowing up balloons now. Well, Adzinko, actually, the world is running out of helium. Look that up, it's really scary, so you're not gonna have much. And of course, Vera Wild. Thank you all so much for your generosity, and to those of you at home, thank you so much for watching, and have a great day. Get out of here.